here at the Modernism Museum in Mount Dora, Florida, where I'm going to take you on a fascinating journey through one of the most definitive collections of art objects by the Memphis Group. Now, to understand this design movement, I'm going to take you back to the 1980s. Think about that decade. Big hair, loud clothing, neon colors, everything was outrageous and over the top, which set the scene for a group of designers who came together and created their own design language that broke almost every design rule. Joining me now is Stephen Coburn. He is with the Modernism Museum, and he's going to take us on a tour of this collection of art objects by the Memphis Group. But first, let's start with the name. Now, despite what people may think, the Memphis Group really wasn't from Memphis, right?
No, that's not true. Well, they were based out of Milan, Italy, but an important note is that they were an international group of artists from all over the world, based in Milan. And the name Memphis actually came from a Bob Dylan song, Stuck in Mobile with the Memphis Blues Again. The story goes that during the night when they were trying to come up with this name, trying so hard to come up with something so good, Ettore Sottsass, the father of the Memphis Group, finally just said, let's call it Memphis.
The Memphis Group kind of grew out of a rebellion from the modernism and the minimalism that had dominated the decades prior.
Right, yeah. Memphis always divided opinions. Some people, especially in the established design world, really hated it. And then others, such as David Bowie, who is not just a pop icon, but an art collector and an art critic, a very keen eye for these things, absolutely loved this furniture.
The Modernism Museum has a significant part of David Bowie's own private collection of Memphis art objects. How did that come to be?
Well, everything here was acquired, like the rest of the objects in our museum, privately. The Bowie pieces were acquired at an auction in 2016.
All right, so we start our tour with this vignette. What are we sitting on?
This is the Lido sofa, it's called, by Michele De Lucchi. The couch that we're sitting on did belong to David Bowie. It was in his private collection, along with these side tables, actually, and this beautiful table over here, Continental. All of this furniture is by Italian designer Michele De Lucchi. So most of the items in this room were designed by a married couple, Nathalie Dupasquier and George Souden. They were a design team, founding members of Memphis, and especially Dupasquier really worked on all the graphics and textiles for the Memphis Group. And then together with George Souden, they made a lot of iconic items, such as this table that we're sitting at, and as well as these chairs we're sitting on. This table is called a Madras table by Dupasquier, and these chairs are called the Palace chairs, also by George Souden. And these were also part of Bowie's private collection. This bed, and we call it a bed loosely, it's called the Tawaraya, and it's named after a famous Japanese hotel, again. This is from Memphis's debut collection, and this photograph we have up here actually shows the Memphis Group in 1981. This is a lot of the core designers, including Ettore Sottsass and the gray mustache. Now, we call it a bed, but that's again a loose term. This was designed by a Japanese artist, Masamori Umeda, and this was designed with lots of purposes in mind.
So the table is from David Bowie's private collection of Memphis objects?
Yeah, that's right. It's called the Palm Spring table, and it belonged to Bowie.
So the chairs we have to point out, because the Memphis Group objects really weren't mass produced except for this chair,
right?
Correct?
So these objects in the 1980s, when you could go buy them, you had to purchase them through a gallery of some sort or a dealer. It wasn't exactly attainable, not to mention very expensive. And as a consequence, a lot of these items were produced in very limited quantities, which makes them rare. But there is one exception to that, and that is these chairs. They were picked up by even a few restaurants, I think, during the 1980s, and they were the only real commercially successful Memphis item during the 1980s, and there were about 3,000 of them produced.
So this is probably the most recognizable piece from Memphis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. This is the Carlton Bookcase. It was designed by Ettore Sottsass for Memphis, and it's so well known from, again, those photographs and publicity circulating, but this piece really encapsulates everything that Memphis is about. We have this out-of-this-world colors, of course, heavy use of this plastic laminate, Formica.
And this piece was from David Bowie's private collection.
In a 2002 article, David Bowie wrote about his Carlton bookcase, and he described the feeling when you walk into a room with something like the Carlton bookcase, that it's a visceral reaction. That was the kind of feeling he got from this furniture and why he lived with it.
All right, well, thank you so much for taking us on a tour. It has been fun and fascinating. And for all of you, be sure to check out the Modernism Museum's website for upcoming dates on the latest exhibits.